If you're a woman over 50 and something has just felt a little off lately, but you can't kind of explain it, I want to talk about that today. And no, you're not imagining it. Sometimes it's just a subtle feeling that something isn't quite landing the way it used to. Sometimes it shows up as quiet restlessness, like something just doesn't feel the way it used to. Maybe it's the things you used to enjoy, and now they just don't feel the same. Or the sense of wanting something more, but not even knowing what that is. Or even just feeling tired, like you don't have the energy to keep showing up the same way anymore. I've had moments like that, where it's not dramatic, it's just a quiet shift. And it can be hard to explain because nothing is necessarily wrong. You may find you are more tired around noise. Things that once felt meaningful now feel automatic. Those are just a couple of examples, and they may not look the same for everyone. For me, it showed up in really simple ways. I used to love watching movies or getting into a certain kind of book, and at some point it just felt kind of eh, not bad, just different. And it might not be that way for you, but usually it's something similar to that. Something that used to feel easy or enjoyable that just shifts. And I think sometimes we forget women have gone through seasons like this for generations, even if they didn't always talk about it openly. There have always been moments in life where people began turning inward, questioning things, rethinking what mattered. In many traditions, aging was not seen as becoming less valuable. Wisdom was respected, reflection was honored, spiritual depth was revered. And I think sometimes we call feeling off may actually be a deeper awareness asking for our attention. That transition would feel incredibly smooth. Or maybe you've seen this in other women throughout your life, mothers, grandmothers, older family members. Maybe they became quieter in certain ways, more reflective, more devoted to their faith or prayer, or simply spending time alone thinking. Maybe their priorities shifted. Maybe they stopped needing things the same way they once did. At the time, maybe we didn't fully understand it. But looking back, I think many women were going through these inner transitions quietly. And maybe every generation experienced this in its own way. But I think the way we experience it now can feel different. We live in a world that moves so fast, changes so quickly, and constantly tells us who we should be. I think the way we experience it now can feel different. We live in a world that moves so fast. Sometimes the disconnect isn't because something is wrong. Sometimes it's because you've lost touch with yourself underneath all the noise. Maybe what's changing isn't obvious yet, but something in you is becoming aware. It's that the ways you've been moving through life, the patterns, the responses, they just don't feel the same anymore. Things that used to feel normal or manageable or even necessary start feeling a little heavier. Or maybe you notice yourself reacting differently, not wanting to do the same things the same way, or not having the same energy for it. And that can feel confusing because it's not always clear what's changing. But sometimes it's not confusion, it's awareness. Maybe it's not a crisis at all. Maybe it's that something in you is waking up to what no longer feels true. And this is the part that can feel a little confusing. because our first instinct is to fix it. But this isn't necessarily something to fix. Sometimes it's a transition. It might look like outgrowing things that used to feel fine, or not having the same energy for the way you've been doing things, or even just starting to question things you never questioned before. And that can feel uncomfortable, but it doesn't always mean something is broken. You might take a moment and ask yourself, what feels quietly heavy right now? And maybe, what am I continuing to do, even though something in me knows it doesn't feel right anymore? And if this is something that feels familiar to you, could you share one word for it in the comments? And if you ever want a little more space to explore this, that's something I hold in my one on one reset sessions.